In this video, we're looking at the brand new boots for Cristiano Ronaldo and Kylian Mbappe, amongst a whole host of other Nike sponsored stars. So let's start things off by looking at how we got to this point. Make sure to tell me what you think about these latest boots in the comments below and your favourite boots of all of these releases too. Cristiano Ronaldo had his own series of chapter boots starting in 2015, and they're the inspiration for the Mercurial Dream Speed series. Now, we've had 5 editions of the Mercurial Dream Speed now, from 001 to 005, and we're going to break down those for you here. Also, we're going to talk about the prequel to the Mercurial Dream Speed series and what inspired the Dream Speed series as well. So, if we rewind the clock, we're going to talk about Ronaldo's chapters. Those are the boots that were designed to CR7's specific for, and they were inspired by the volcanic island of Madeira, Ronaldo's birthplace. Moving on, we went to chapter 2, the natural diamond. Now these were a blue boot on the Superfly 4 with an interesting raised texture to the heel of the boot and a black collar. He then moved on to the CR7 chapter 3 Discovery. Now these were on the Superfly 5 and they referenced his game against Manchester United for Sporting, where he really was noticed. This boot has Lisbon inspired colours and match references. He continued through to Forged for Greatness, which was his chapter 4 boots. Now these were a combination of a hot orange base onto a dark metallic grey at the top of the boot. It was all about a young piece of iron talent being forged into a celebrated global star. Chapter 5 were the Cut to Brilliance. Now these were a clean white Superfly at first glance, but they in fact had a rainbow of colours emerging from them when you looked at them close up. It had a diamond cut print, a multicoloured shading and an embossed diamond CR7 logo. Chapter 6 was the CR7 Born Leaders. These were a jade green boot with a black collar and a gold Nike swoosh, inspired by the captain's logo for Portugal. Now these came out around the time of the World Cup, and Ronaldo ended up getting a special edition pair that he wore in the knockout rounds. So those Born Leader special editions were to celebrate 154 goals for the national team, and the black was switched out for white on these. Then he moved on to the last pair of signature editions in the CR7 chapter series, and they were aptly named the Final Chapter. These were a red-black Superfly 360 with the carbon fibre inspired design around the heel and little 7s across the upper of the boot. From there, Nike decided to switch things up a bit, probably thinking about Ronaldo moving on and perhaps not playing as much, although obviously Ronaldo felt like he had a few more good years left in him, as he has since proved since leaving Real Madrid, playing at Juventus and now Manchester United. But Nike brought in Kylian Mbappe to wear the signature editions with Ronaldo, and they started things off with the Level Up Mercurials. So these were the prequels to the Mercurial Dream Speed series. These white Level Up were on the Superflies, the Superfly 6, and it definitely had a rainbow design in the elements of the boot, but the whole sole of the boot was white, and then it had this rainbow band that went down through the middle, and that element also went over the toes of the boot as well. It had a black swoosh, but over the top it also had a safari print that was subtly hidden that came up in the flash of light. They're very much the Wattler kind of inspired boots, but they was only purely in that little strip where there were lots of different boots that Ronaldo had worn and enjoyed over the years, shown in that aspect of the boot. Now, moving on from these, it was time to launch the Mercurial Dream Speed series, and to do that, Nike gave it to 3 players: Cristiano Ronaldo, Kylian Mbappe and Sam Kerr. Now she's the Australian striker now at Chelsea's women's team, and Nike decided to bring all these lines together and created the Mercurial Dream Speed. So started things off with the MDS 001. Now that was the main boot graphic as well. It was written across the upper of the boot, and when we saw these on pitch, really stood out. But still on the sock liner, it would say designed to the exact specifications of Cristiano Ronaldo. So you can see how that's the same as the chapter series. The official colorway of the Dream Speed 001 was blue void, metallic, silver and white. Now, they had little extra details over the upper on these that distinguished them from your standard Superfly. Had a really big prominent ACC branding on them, and next to the swoosh was a 44.7 kilometers an hour, a nod to Kylian Mbappe's top speed when he scored a goal for Paris Saint-Germain. Now, that was the first edition of the Dream Speed. As they moved on, they brought out the MDS 002. These were lemon venom in colour, and Nike dropped most of the symbols and the branding that we saw across the original boots, and on these instead you just saw the 002 on the back of the heel. These had a much cleaner look and really highlighted that lemon venom colourway. It had hidden rainbow colours within it, especially noticeable on the sole, and you could see the colour of the boot went from green to yellow. They were inspired by the 2006 R9 World Cup Vapor 2s, and this Mercurial Dream Speed 2 was the second release in this series of boots, again represented by Cristiano Ronaldo, Kylian Mbappe and Sam Kerr on pitch. In between the Mercurial Dream Speed releases, Ronaldo does get his own odd little signature editions here and there, but not very often, just for very special things. So before we move on to the Dream Speed 3, you'll find out Mbappe himself is also getting his own signature editions. He had his Bondi Dreams, and then more recently we've also seen him in his Flame Superflies, and we're expecting to see more signature editions for Mbappe coming out. But as we got to the Mercurial Dream Speed 3, these would incorporate more players into wearing them. So it wasn't just Ronaldo, Mbappe and Kerr, but we were seeing other players, the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Erling Haaland and Ansu Fati. And this boot had always been available in the Superfly and Vapor, but this was the first time that we were seeing key players wearing the low-cut version on pitch. So these boots are what in essence look like a white and black pair of boots, but they're a little bit more special than that for the Mercurial Dream Speed 3. It had the MDS 003 branding on the heel, but it also had a striking diagonal band that went across the medial and to the top of the outsole, and then really subtly it was hiding an iridescent pinstripe detail that provoked memories of the signature CR7 Vapor Superfly 3s. Broader stripes of the previous Vapor Superflies were also not forgotten, as the medial band and the lateral band showed a relatively wider multicoloured stripe. Mercurial Dream Speed 4. Now interestingly, when Nike dropped in the Mercurial Dream Speed 4, this was the first time that you couldn't actually get the Vapor boots at retail. That didn't stop some key players wearing them though, and we'd have seen Erling Haaland at Borussia Dortmund wearing them on. So this fourth generation of the Mercurial Dream Speed series was the first time we saw the Dream Speed on the Superfly 8 and the Mercurial Vapor 14 in 2021. These boots were inspired by a rocket on re-entry to the Earth's atmosphere. It had a nice colour change across the boots and went from white to yellow to orange to red, and also had a kind of crash test dummy kind of logo on them, which was quite interesting to see. In between these and the next release, we would see Ronaldo wearing his Spark Positivity boots. He wore those in the summer of that year at Euro 2020, and he quickly moved on to his CR110s. But he didn't wear those Spark Positivities for too long. They would have looked pretty good with the Manchester United kit, as he ended up moving there. But he was wearing the CR110s that had a shattered multi-print design on them, but they weren't actually available at retail. They were only a special edition for him to wear. Now, moving things on to the Mercurial Dream Speed 5, make sure you tell me what you think of these. We have reached 5. They are the latest edition of the Mercurial Dream Speed. They are barely green, Volt and Electro Purple. First seen in action by Ronaldo in the Premier League against Burnley when he came on as a substitute. Now, the design inspiration of the Dream Speed 5 comes from Ronaldo's most powerful tool, his mind. Cristiano started doing yoga and positive mindset exercises, and he believes a calm mental state means strong decision making. Now, these boots with their green moving into the hues of turquoise and purple are demonstrating the power generated by a restful aura. Well, that's what the marketing says. Anyway, next up, Mbappe wore and scored in these for Paris Saint-Germain, and one player we may or may not see in these is Erling Haaland. So it's a big question to see whether he will be sticking with a Nike deal or if he's going to go somewhere else. I believe if he doesn't wear these boots, then he's definitely going somewhere else. Be interesting to find out what happens. Anyway guys, tell me what you think of these boots. Go enjoy your football.